So if you've been following along, you know that I had problems with the transmission controller. I got those resolved. I ended up trying to start the car after it successfully started when I was working on the transmission controller, and it didn't start. Well, where we stand with that right now is the Quadrajet has been sent back to Holly for diagnosis. I believe at this point that the problem is it is not sending a signal to fire to the capacitive discharge ignition box, and therefore I have no spark. So took that off and mailed it back to them yesterday, or UPS'd it back to them yesterday. And very expensive to ship it. It was $49 and some change, because I wanted to insure it, because to replace it, even though it was defective, I would have to pay over $1,000, almost $1,100. So can't do that. Would like to charge the air conditioning system, but I can't do that without the engine running. So I'm going to work on the door panels. I didn't want to put them in until I got the seats in, which, if you've been following along, you know that the brackets that they sent for the 76 Corvette didn't fit. So they're custom making me a set of brackets for the seats. So kind of stuck with limited things I can do. So I am going to work on the upholstery panels for the door. I have this one off because I had to repair the channel that the electric window, power window, uses. So this is already off. There is a plastic sheet of, it's just, I don't even know what it's called, but it's a sheet of thin plastic that covers this as a vapor barrier. And you can see all around here, there is what used to be tacky tape, or I don't want to call it tape, it's more like a caulking, that it's stuck to, but that's apparently been off a few times and it's no longer sticky. And I am going to show you removing the door panel on the other side, hopefully. But I can get some close-up detail on some of the things that you have to take apart on this door while it's off. There are two screws that go into the door here, right here, and right here. And as luck would have it, I believe I used those screws on the console, because I didn't know what went where. I put them all in one bag, and in looking at the screws on the other door panel this morning, I noticed that those look suspiciously like what I used on the console. Now, I'm going to move the camera. So just for perspective on where I need to get them out of the console, they are right down about an inch below that, and hopefully I'm not blocking the camera, about an inch below that, and I can't take that one out until I remove the seat, which I'm not going to do until I get seats, seat brackets, I should say, for the new seats. But I can replace the one on the other side. But the other thing I wanted to show is, oh, by the way, this sticky stuff that isn't sticky anymore, I am going to just tape that vapor barrier on there. But what I wanted to show you on this side is that way that the lock handle is put on. Now, for Christmas, Santa sent me a bunch of upholstery tools, but none of them, I thought they would have one to release that, but apparently it's an old school thing. There's 5 different things here. None of them have a big enough gap to go around that. So I'm going to do it the way I have always done it, which is just use a little hook. Now, there's a C-clip on here, sort of, that could be on from either side. And basically, ideally, and I think I did put this on this way, you want the closed end of the C over by the door handle, because it's easier to get something in there to pull it out. If you put it in from the other direction, the door panel is going to interfere a little bit, or more so anyways than the door handle. But you get your little hook in back there. Okay, back to trying to get that hook out of there, the clip out of there. The trick is getting the hook clipped and not hitting the back of this knob. Okay, so that's actually good the way it came off for demonstration purposes. So I got it pulled far enough that those couple little the notches or bends in the wire released off of the groove in the shaft there. But ideally, you just would be able to pull that all the way out. And actually, I can leave that in there like that now. 2 things: it won't get lost, number 1. And see, this is where that hook sometimes catches. Uh-oh. My clip went flying. Dang. I have no idea where it landed. The lesson there is leave the clip in there, because you can just push it back onto the shaft and it will spread and latch. Oh well. I'm sure it's going to cost, $1.25 for the part and $15 to ship it, but that's what I get for trying to show you what the clip looked like. I do have a magnetic pickup tool down in my shop, and I can run it over the floor, so if it landed on the floor, I'll find it. If not, I'll find it about 20 minutes after the one I ordered for $17 or $18 ships. So, moving on. The door handle, and this can be hard to see, there's a screw here. Make sure that I'm in the frame, and I am not. So this is the door handle that goes on the outside of the panel. Pretty sure these are the original screws because I put them back in there, and then there's a hole there. The bottom screw doesn't want to come out of the handle. It appears to be longer than the top screw in case you take them both out. Now, I can't guarantee that these are the original screws because people have been in here before I was, but there you have it. Another thing that I'm going to have to take off of this is right down on the back of the thing. This clip, I believe, should be attached to the new panel. But it kind of holds it in place. But I think this just came out of the old panel, and it's part of the reason why it wasn't in there correctly. It was kind of warped, and the panels are kind of beat up. So hopefully that comes with the new door panel. So that's all I'm going to show you on this side. I am going to go to the other side and try to get you a view of the other panel as I take it off. One last thing before I leave. Here are, and I'll try to move the camera and get a better picture of that. That's basically what attaches these. These are kind of like huge Velcro things. These are little bumps, and I know this from taking the old panel off, and maybe I'll get the old panel and show you that there's just a bunch of corresponding nubs like that, and when you press against it, they latch it together and hold it on. So I looked at the door panel. They are identical to these things, but there are 4 of them on the door panel, and they match with this, 2, 3, and 4. The new one should have that on it, and that should be part of what holds it on. So I'm going to shut the camera off, go over to the other side, open the door. I think I can shoot through the car and show you that without getting in the way too much. Okay, while I went over there to look at it, I was thinking there's one more thing I can show you over on this side. Hopefully I can, there's no good camera angle, but basically there is a screw behind the handle here. You have to pull the handle up a little bit, unscrew it with a Phillips screwdriver that has a long enough shaft so that you don't interfere with the door handle. Drop that screw too. Then the handle should pull out. There it is. So again, that screw is right back in here. So I'm going to go take the things off of the other door that I just showed you over here. That would be the lock, the handle, and the door handle, the pull. And then I'll be back to show you the removal of the panel. So I gave a whole dissertation on how when I was taking off the door handles, or both of the screws that went through there I dropped, and the screws on the passenger side door pull, I'll call them. I'm dropping everything. I should just quit today. But they're both the same length on the passenger side. So the one on the driver's side, at some point somebody just put in whatever they had on hand. And I also was saying that when I took the lock knob off of the passenger side, the clip on that side went flying too, but I found one of them. I don't know whether it was from the passenger side or the driver's side, but I found one of them. And it is inserted in there, and I showed you what it looked like. You can probably imagine what it looks like from this, because it just goes straight in there and then loops back over that way. But once it's in here, you can just put that on the stud for the lock and just push it in and it'll clip. I'm not taking that off again because I have dropped too many things today already, and I found most of them, but one of those clips still eludes me. So I'm going to zoom in on that door panel and go over and remove it. So there should be a screw right about here, and I know from looking at this, it is down inside here. And then there should be the little clip on the bottom corner that I took out on the other side, and I believe should actually be attached to the door panel. Tiny screw. There's a screw here that, as I said, matches the ones that I put into the center console there. So I believe that's just hung up in the upholstery, not the screw. So that's out. Now, this just clips over the top of the door panel here. And there's the screw that was here. And these clips pretty much weren't holding anything. The ones that are the glorified Velcro. So I'm going to take this off. It just lifts off. And as you can see here, this plastic vapor barrier has not been removed anywhere near as many times as the other side. Although it looks like it could use some tape here and there to help it stay in place and actually provide a vapor barrier. Although there are holes in it, so I'm not sure how good the vapor barrier is. So I'm going to get this out of the way and go open my new door panels. Couple things. In the process of taping up that vapor barrier, I came to the conclusion that that's probably there more to protect the upholstery panel on the inside from moisture that gets down into the door, because there's no way that you're going to prevent moisture from getting into the door. Also, I found another clip over here that you're going to need a stubby screwdriver. Matches the other clip that was kind of on the bottom, or sort of matches it, let's say. And since I found that there, I'm going to feel around for any other clips, and I don't feel any. Now, this one over here, there was none on the driver's side. I just checked. So I'm going to finish up. I'm using frog tape because it's really sticky. I found from putting it on some stuff and then having difficulty taking it off. So I think that will work well to hold this vapor barrier in place and protect, I think, the interior panel more so than the door, because it's more likely to be moisture from the outside getting down into the door than there is from the inside. So there's the new door panel. I had the deluxe door panels in here, which had these wood grain inserts, and there was one here, and there was a carpet down here. Well, since I changed the carpet to black instead of red, and since I went with blue carpeting instead of cut pow, that carpeting isn't going to work. And I knew that, so I was debating on whether just put this thing on plain, standard, and it would have looked okay. I think it looks a little better with this extra trim, and at first I thought it wasn't going to fit because I had it upside down and it didn't match, but if you put it the right way, it in fact matches. But here's the thing, they tell you to align this over this here. It's hard to do because this sits up a 1/4 of an inch or so. And then they tell you press down on the panel to make an indentation and then drill holes where the indentations fall. Well, I wish there was a better way of doing that, but I think that's the best that's going to happen. And I guess if you miss it a little bit, you can enlarge those holes because the screws that hold them on have a big backing plate that comes with them. So you could make that hole bigger and move it a little bit to get it perfect, and then tighten it down, and it would be okay. But I'm disappointed that with his door panels, you didn't get any new hardware. And by that, I mean the clips that are in the front here somewhere, and in the back on the corner to hold it in. So I guess when I order the clip I lost, I can order the clip that wasn't there. At least I'll get more shipped for my shipping costs. So I am going to press down and make an indentation there and find a 5/16 drill bit. There's like 5 different posts here that have screws. I'll shut the camera off while I get a drill bit. I guess you have to press really hard because I didn't leave much of an indentation there to give you a good indication of where to drill. Guess I'm gonna try that again. I think I got enough that most of them will line up, but boy, this front bit hole here was really not very good. Wish there was a better way to do this. But just to find the holes. That one on the back kind of scared me because it looked like it was off, because it's right on the seam of that thing right there. But it's where it needs to go. Nice if they gave you a dimple on the back side to do that. I'm gonna carefully drill the rest of those out off camera. I did 4 of the 5 because I wasn't happy with the impression I got on this front. But when I put the panel on, the 4 went through at least this part of it first. Now, it'll remain to be seen how well the screws line up whenever I go to screw it in from the back side. But I got the 1 more to go. tore up the vinyl a little bit, but there's plenty of the plate to cover it. This is the passenger side I'm working on. I already took the driver's side off so that when I took it off, I knew that I had a good piece to work with. So what I'm going to do is see if I can start one of these screws from the bottom in that front one. This is going to be interesting. These screws are not very long, and it's got to reach the threaded part there. So see how that goes for us. And I'm going to need a screwdriver to push up against that from the bottom because it's close to not making it far enough to pull it in. Well, here goes. Like I always say, I show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if it doesn't work, there'd be a lesson learned there. That didn't reach. The instructions actually tell you to put a block under this upside down so that it will reach. I'm trying to cheat a little bit here and do it a different way. Yeah, these screws are so short that I don't know. You know what? I should check something here because I also took off the trim piece from here, and those might be the shorter screws than the trim piece I'm trying to put on. That may indeed be the case because I took this off of the driver's side door panel that I took off, and it is longer. So let me try that. Unfortunately, I guess I mixed up most of the screws. When I took them off, I didn't keep them separate. But I thought that I had actually done this part for the passenger side and put it on before I even took the bottom piece off, because I had actually, well, maybe not. I had tried throwing, I was going to throw it all away and not use any of the trim, and I may have that's not threading in. I'm going to have to get something to protect this and try to do it from the bottom side. It might be easier. So I tried doing it from the back side. That was even worse because it was hard to get this supported. I may have to find some same thread screws. That are longer, just to get them started, to see if I can pull it in. That didn't start. Okay, enough fiddling with this off camera or on camera. I'll work on it off camera and let you know what worked. Just a note here, some of these screws are longer than others. Turn it this way. So that's the reason for the different lengths of screws. Almost looks like all 5 are slightly different lengths, but I don't know what screws went into which because they didn't inform me of this, and I took them out thinking they were all the same. I am making some progress. I'll show you what I did. First of all, I got one started over here with a long screw. However, looking at this piece, this is a rounded edge, and the rounded edge has a short stud. The squared off edge has a long stud. And unfortunately, even though I have a long screw started there, it's the rounded edge. It should have a short screw. So I don't know, maybe we're making progress, but here's what I did over here. This is interesting. That's the only way I could get it. I got myself a long screw with the same thread and a nut. And what I did is I threaded that screw in till it bottomed out. And then I took a wrench and I turned this nut down so that it pulled it up. And I got, I'll show you on the back one how much that came up. That right there, as you can see, it's a good 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch up just from tightening that down. So now I'm going to see if I can hit that with one of the short screws. Although that's the other end, it should take the long screw. So maybe I'm kind of screwed there unless I can find a long screw. And I might be able to take one off of the driver's side that I used as a model. Might be one there. Or is it possible I could catch that screw with this? I don't think so. So I'm going to try to find a long screw and see if I can catch that with the long screw, because the screw I had in there was not all that much longer than the long screws. Okay. It was in the end that required the long stud on the driver's side. So I do have a long screw. If I can get that one started, maybe, just maybe, we can move this over to here and get a short screw in here. started. Okay, got the long screw started there. Pull that up. Before I even take this one out, I'm going to see if I can start a short screw here. If I can, and I'm pretty sure I know I can get a short screw in that one. These are all non-standard screws right now except for that one, because that one, and I think I didn't bother to zoom out. So anyways, what I'm doing here is I have removed the longer screw that I got started over there. Let's try the short one. Because that one should be a short one. Look in there and see. These, as I was worried about, that's got a bunch of crud. They've got a foam in there, and that foam gets in the way of the thread in the hole. Pretty sure just from the reach of this. Pretty sure the short one's not going in there. I don't think so. If I do catch that thread, it will be just one thread. Not working. So, I guess my next plan, since I've got this one started, I'm going to do a similar thing as what I did here, except that I'm just going to put some washers on it so that if I can get that started, it will pull up, and maybe I can take that second one down, or take this one out and maybe get a short screw in there. I cannot get the short screws to hit any of those. I don't know whether the this plastic insert is thicker, or the padding is thicker, or what have you, but I'm going to try to put this one on today with screws I found that were longer with the same thread. I mean, it doesn't look bad on the inside. So I'm going to take that tool that I was kind of using off and put one of these in and see how it fits on the door. I'm actually thinking in the plastic or fiberglass or whatever it is there that I've got this down that tight. Tell you to take these off. Apparently, you can buy premium doors loaded or unloaded. Loaded would be, it includes those trim pieces I'm trying to put on. Unloaded would not include them. So, see if we can get this one in. I guess as long as it looks okay on the inside, it'll be fine. And if I have enough screws that a length that will work on the other side, I'll do that, but that's probably going to be another day. And if not, I'll go get some. But that's bottomed out. It needs one of those other length screws. I'd like to get one door on today. I do have a long one in the third one that I think I can switch with that and get them to work. So they're all in. Swapping that third one out worked. And it looks pretty good. I do have to cut holes here. It said to cut that out with a razor knife and pull the padding out from underneath it before you mount the door pulls. I think what I'm going to try, and maybe my perfectionism is going to get me in trouble again, but I'm going to try just cutting it cross in here and dig out the stuff so that I don't risk cutting part that's going to be seen. I need to get a better X-Acto knife than I have out here in the garage in order to do that. And I wonder whether that would be better done while it's hanging on the door, because it would be more stable. So in working on that door pull situation, like I said, I cut a square there. It's very difficult to pull the stuff out. I'm going to try some more with maybe some needle nose pliers to get the foam out of there. It'd be nice if they just didn't put it in there if they want you to take it out. But what I may have to do is, when I made that slit, it meant that there's kind of like triangles here. I may cut the tips of each of those off to make a round hole for the screw. Now, there is no hole in the back of the door for that screw to go into, and there is a hole in the door, the metal part of the inner part of the door, that the screw is supposed to go into, so they don't give you any directions on how to address that. It almost seems like maybe you should do somewhat similar to putting these on, where you drill a hole that's bigger than the screw so that you can find the hole in the metal door, since most of these circle areas will be covered by the door pull. This is the bottom of the door pull. It's the one I'm working on. That is more or less centered in that round area. If you look at the top, not really centered. So on the top, that hole would have to go more toward the bottom. Hopefully when I get this on, I'll be able to hit the doors in the holes in the door, metal part of the door, because I'd like to have that solidly attached to the door. Now that I've cut the tips of those triangles off, I'm able to get needle nose pliers underneath there and pull out some of that foam. I'm going to, I think I have a smaller pair of needle nose pliers. I bought a mini set one time. I'm going to dig those out and work at it with a smaller set of pliers until I get it all out. There's a mini set of pliers. I'll work on that foam till I get enough of it out to make that fit in there the way I want. Okay, after test fitting this, it's obvious that this isn't going to go in here until you cut out this entire bottom piece of those. That'll make the top one easier to do, but wasted a lot of time on the bottom one trying to do it a little neater, but it isn't going to go that way. So you're going to need an X-Acto knife to do that. There's no way you could get a regular razor knife, that you'd use for whatever, box cutter, into there. Just isn't going to happen. Okay, so that one on the bottom looks like it's going to be okay once I get the top one done, because this is up right here, but once I get the top in, it'll set okay. So I'm going to take the quick way to do the top one. There's the door handle. It tells you to mount the door panel on the door, and then take an awl and poke it through the panel here to make a hole for the screws that go into the metal door here. I don't know, I don't see that happening very easily. I'm more inclined to take a drill while it's off and just drill a hole through the back panel. First of all, I don't have an actual awl. All I have is these things. Secondly, I think that would be really hard to do. I'm going to find a drill bit of an appropriate size for the screws that have to go through there. So the screws that hold that on appear to be self-tapping, so I found a bit, and I'm only going through the plastic on the back of this. That's big enough for this to go through, and I hope that whenever I go to put it in the door, it lines up with the holes that are already there. If not, I guess we'll see if the self-tapping bolt actually works. I always get nervous whenever I'm about to drill into a couple $100 worth of material. Okay, that ought to be that. Time to go try to hang it on the door and see what kind of problems we run into there. So the instructions tell you to locate the two screw holes at the top of the door, one at the front corner and one at the rear corner. With an awl, poke a hole through the door panel in these two locations so that screws will align with the holes when replaced in the panel. So I think that needs to be punched from the inside out. And when I say inside the door out to the passenger compartment. And I'll show you why. So there's quite a bit of padding here and back here. So I don't know how you would ever locate those holes. But if you flip this guy over, well, try to show you here. There's a grommet. A metal grommet that screw's going to go through. I think that's how you have to do it. Punch the hole through from this side, and then when you insert the screw, it should line up. So as I said, I don't have an awl, but I do have a pick. So I'm going to try to stick that through there without stabbing myself. That should give me a hole location. Yep. So that when I go trying to that's interesting. I thought I saw one on the front. And now I'm not seeing it, so I don't know how in the world you would find that screw hole. I don't know how you would find that screw hole. Wait a minute. Aha. There is a grommet right there. The funny thing is you can't even go over to the door because you don't know how this fits on the door. can't go over to the door and try it. I hope that's the right spot. I'm not sure it is. Oh, wait a minute, that's the back hole. Gonna go look at that door. It probably is the right spot. Quick check on the door, and yeah, that does look like it's the right spot, because I thought that that was the front of the door, but it's the back. Or no. Talking about over here. Thought that was the front of the door, but it's the back. Well, time to go try to hang it. I got the two clips in, one at the front, one at the back. Had to force them in. I don't know about the one at the back, but the one at the front seems like it'll fall out pretty easily. But I guess once it's screwed in, it'll do its job. Okay, I'm going to grab that. Try to put it over the door. Trying to get a visual on approximately where these glorified Velcro tabs are, because I want to make sure that the door handles and the lock line up. Looking for a screw that holds the panel on in the back here. Actually, from where this screw is, this panel is not so close to the door that you can actually see in here to line up that one screw. Since I have one here, let's do it. I don't think that's going to reach for that dimple in that. Pretty much. I'm going to have to get a flashlight and look in here and line up that screw with that hole, but I don't see that as a hard thing to do. I actually think this needs to go in a little bit. There was some talk about a tab that had to line up. I might have to pick this back off to be lifted. Maybe a little bit more forward. So on the instructions, it says, if I can find it now. It says, note, hook the top of the panel over the door and position the panel front to back. Note there is a triangular protrusion on the back of the panel near the top middle that fits into a recess in the door. The panel must be situated correctly front to back in this recess area to allow the bottom of the panel to mount properly against the bottom of the door. So that is what I'm going to be trying to do. I didn't actually see a place on the door. Look at the one over here. Triangular protrusion, I don't know. It fits in the recess in the door, maybe here or here. But it only says one triangular protrusion. I might be pulling that off to look at the inside of that panel just to make sure. So the door panel fits, door closes nicely and opens nicely. There are a couple issues though with it. First of all, before I forget, let me show you the triangular shaped part where that tab fits in is this right here. So that has to fit in there to align it front to back. I had to take the panel off to see it, but now that I've done that, I understand what's going on. Couple of things that I don't particularly like is these clips here that are kind of like glorified Velcro, I've been calling them. They don't hold very well. And I did get the clips in here and on the front, but the two screws that were holding that top of that panel on, they are nowhere near long enough to fit through that new panel. I'm going to take a look at the old one and see what is the story there. I don't believe that the new panel's any thicker. Maybe it was just dented way in, and I don't think I should be doing that on a brand new door. Okay, I see what the issue is. The old panel, I'm going to measure it. It's maybe at most 3/4 of an inch thick in the front area. And when I go over here and look at where the front hole is, it's a good 1.25 inches. So there's no way the screw that was on there is going to pull that in that far. Now, the back one over here is again, about 1.25 inches, maybe 1.125 inches. And I'm going to run over and see if I can measure a back one on the original panel. The back one on the original panel is no more than 1/2 inch. So there's no way that the screws that they had in the original are going to fit that. Just not gonna happen. So I will need to get some new screws for that. But at least it fits, and well, I have to still put the door pull screws in. That might be fun, because I have no idea whether they're lining up, and based on the other measurements, I'm not even sure they'll be long enough. I still have a clip to put in over here that I took out. I'll draw this in some. That isn't going. It's back a little bit. This really doesn't impress me, because it's not curing the problem that I had with the original. That's not even the screw for that. I gotta find that screw. I need some light. But the original panel didn't fit very well, and it was bowed out at the back, at the bottom rather. And that's what I was trying to fix with the new one, although it was kind of beat up. So this will work better, but the fitment on this thing is not impressing me. Everything on this thing is thicker, and it's making everything more difficult. I had to drill a starter hole in the backing in the door to get the bottom of this door pull in, and I got it. It just reached, but there's no way that the screw that came out of the original was fitting from there and hitting the door, because it's thicker. There's no way these are hitting the door because it's thicker. And I'm having trouble with this. I don't know if that's because it's thicker or not, but trying to pry it open like this and then wedge a screwdriver in there. But you've got to get it far enough out for this tab to go behind that, and these grooves, or these tabs that are on here, fit in these grooves here. I had a heck of a time doing it. Just wonder how that'll probably go on. I'm not going to do it just yet. I might need to shift this back a little bit based on what I'm seeing here. This is not centered anymore. And I don't know if I can do that without removing that. So not a good situation. I think I'm going to take this dual pull off again. I am going to get longer screws for this because it's just not working right. That is not centered. The only thing that's screwed in are these two tabs. Nothing else is screwed in. You know what? These tabs may have held on the bottom. Maybe that's what's holding it from going back a little bit. These tabs that are here and here actually have wiggle room, so I'm not sure they're actually part of the problem. This is frustrating. Stuff that's designed for the car ought to fit. Well, I got it back, now it needs to go up. Now I don't have the clip on this. There's a flat on here somewhere. Two flats. Got to be lined up right or it won't go on. I didn't take this off. So a couple big teeth. look at the driver's door and see if I can figure out what the angle needs to be. Took me a long time to get that handle on, and didn't have the camera running, but I will show you what, well, I can't show you what I did over here. I can show you part over here and part over there. But for now, I am going to try to put on the block handle. And as I said before, all these things are too short, all the screws. I was having trouble with this lining up right. Well, it is lined up the same way. It's an optical illusion because this is level. This is slanted down, so it looks like this is pointed down in the front. At any rate, that's lock, that's unlock. The door handle is on. While I'm over here, I'll show you where I had to stuff a fairly heavy screwdriver because he had to take up all the room. That screwdriver had to be stuffed in here. And I don't have the door panel on the other side, but I'll show you what I did in order to get it pried open. Actually, it was more like that because I had to get it pried as far open as I could because this apparently sticks out further than it did on the original panels. But okay, I'm not going to put this in because I want a longer screw. That one was barely hitting, and I can show you that the door opens and closes. And I'll come along to that side and try and demonstrate what I had to do in order to get that thing in there. I've done this before on the 74. I've actually done it on this car, and it really was never this hard. And I hope I can get in here with that and show you without problem. So I took this tool, and you had to get it in here just the right way, and then you could open that up pretty far, and then you had to take your screwdriver, like I said, a pretty hefty one, and jam it in there like that, and that allowed you to take this and slip it on like that, and this just barely cleared the frame. So at least I'll know how to do this when I get back to this side. But piece of cake once you've done it 12 times. And I need a clip for the lock. And I need a clip for the door panel. And I'm going to go to the store and get several longer screws to put that trim plate on. That one. because that wasn't any fun with short screws. So what should have been like an hour job, I think I've been out here 5. Oh no, more than 5. But that's going to be it for today. Worked way longer than I intended, but at least I've got something done to show for it, more or less, or almost done, I should say, because when I get those other screws, I still have to do that over there. Well, the passenger side door panel is completely installed. It was a struggle. Several things. These screws here, because of the fact that that panel is thicker than the original one, it really those screws don't do a whole heck of a lot. I mean, maybe they keep it from bouncing up, but if you screw them in tight so that they actually pull the panel to the door, they're going to just dent in and go through the vinyl. So another thing, you see how that's all deformed there? The Corbeau seats hit the door panel. I don't know that they would do that if that door panel wasn't thicker than the original, but I'm going to have to live with brand new deformed door panels. Next thing is this door handle. That door handle was difficult to get the screws in because you had to drill through the panel, the door panel, to get them to bite. And they had to be longer than the original screws. So you're drilling blind, you don't know what you're drilling into. I eventually got it to work, and by the way, before I forget, when you're drilling, make sure you have the windows up, because you don't know whether you're going to hit that glass whenever you break through, and you don't want to be doing that because you could break it. So I did have the window up. I don't think the bit I had was long enough to go through that whole panel and the door panel and hit the glass, but the first attempt at putting this in on the bottom, I had bought 2 different sizes of screws that I was potentially going to use in that handle depending on whether the one fit. And I was having trouble getting the first one, the short one, to bite. And I'm having trouble finding a short one. At any rate, I tried it with this long one and had the window up, remember, and when I got it in, I tried to put the window down, and the track must have been hitting on the end of this screw. So I had to go with the shorter one. I finally got it to bite, and it's on there good, but it was difficult. So that's where we are on this panel. I still have the other one to do, but I'm not going to video that unless there's something worth noting on it. There probably will be 1 or 2 little tips that I'll give you. One, hopefully I'll remember, is because of the way I had to pull these clips out from here, and I don't think I have that in the frame. Yeah, maybe I did. Let's get it a little bit better. because I had to pull these out, it was easier to put the closed end of that loop over here because you had a better shot at hooking it with a pick than here, because this is good 3/8 of an inch, if not more, higher than that. So I'm going to put them back in that same way because that's probably how I would take them out. But if you're putting them in and you have the tool, you probably want the closed end on this side because the tool reaches in under there and pushes it off. So depending on what tools you have to work with, and you probably screw someone else up if they don't have the tool that you have and they have to do it. But that's what I did because I know what I have, and if I need to take that off, I know how to go about it. So, interior door panels are on. It was a lot harder than necessary, mainly due to the increased thickness of the door panel. Aftermarket door panel, none of the hardware fit. It was a pain getting everything in. I did resolve the pressure on the door panel by tilting the seat up a little bit, and it clears because that door panel comes out right here. So if you have your seat further up, and I like the seat to be more upright personally because of my back, so that's not an issue. But these had to have new holes drilled. Those weren't too bad. It was a little bit of a pain getting these clips in because the panel didn't want to go up against the door, but I was able to pull it over with a pick, and it stayed once I let the pick go, which really surprised me. These were there to get in. Neither of these is standard hardware, the screws holding that on. I had similar issue with this front clip as I did with this back clip. The door handle was very hard to get on, harder than the other side for some reason, but I got it. This didn't want to go on at all with the new clip, and as a matter of fact, there was a little plastic shield behind it. I couldn't even fit that in. And I actually, the only way I got that on is I got it lined up. It will only line up one way. And once I got it lined up, took a piece of wood and a hammer and tapped it on with the clip already in place. So windows go up and down, not any interference. So sounds like that's a win. And they look good. I got one tiny little thing that I'm not happy with, but I don't think anybody else will ever notice it, so I'm not even going to tell you. That locks and unlocks. And as I said, no pressure on the door panel from the seat because I made the seat back a little more upright. I don't even know if I changed the driver's side. I did change the passenger side, so the driver's side may be right where it was. I think that's it for the interior at last. It's getting late in the day and I need to clean up the shop and make room for my wife to get her car in here when she comes home. So that'll be it for this. Thanks for watching.